Hey, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Darth. We are back with some Queen's Blade Limit Break video content, and in this one I do want to go over the new warrior classification and the new features of these warriors, if you will, the new game mechanics that it actually brings to the game, because these new warrior class called Ultra Rare, or UR, do bring new mechanics to the game. I'm going to give you some thoughts and information. I'm going to share some opinions, and then I'm going to ask for you guys to share your thoughts and opinions on this as well. Now, keep in mind, this is not going to be a review of the very first Ultra Rare Warrior. It's not going to be a review of her, looks, character statistics, and skills and things like that, the overview that I would normally do. This is strictly going to focus on what these new warriors are bringing to the game, how they might change the game, because they do change the game, at least in the beginning, more so, and they will probably change the way that it goes going forward. So let's get into it. First and foremost, I just want to say I'm not happy about, as I very often am, about the lack of communication that G123 has when implementing new game features. Now, generally, it's not a bad deal. It's not a big deal. It's nothing new. When they released the SP Warriors, they didn't bring the type of new game mechanics or features that these new Warriors do, so it wasn't really a big deal. But they gave us 24-hour notice that they were going to release a whole new classification of Warrior, and didn't tell us anything about it. Didn't tell us what the Warriors were going to do or be capable of, and how it might actually change or affect the game. G123 really needs to be better about this. This is something that should have been done even a few days or a week out. We should have gotten notice at least 30 days saying what the Warriors were going to do, what they were going to bring to the table. And then the implementation actually should have been taken a step further. You'll see what I'm talking about as we go through this. So let's just start with some basics, all right? Going into the spring, she's actually part of she's a skill warrior. So she's a warrior classification as well. So she's actually, you can come in here and slot her into your support functions, either in the skill attribute or the warrior attribute. That was actually kind of cool. Under the gallery, though, her spicy pose is in the index here. Sometimes this stuff loads up fairly slow, and I am very upset about that. But she is here. She is under the warrior ascension to give you an account-wide attack and HP bonus. She is considered an elite SP as far as the amount of attack and HP that she gives you. Again, lesser SP warriors actually give a slightly less attack and HP. She's on par with some of the more elite version or more sought-after SP warriors. It's not a big difference, but she is there. She is not in the fighting spirit. But neither is several of the other new warriors that they just released over the last few weeks either. That would require completely updating several of these chapters to include these warriors. And on a side note, somebody was busting my balls about dropping in the rankings. Yes, I'm number 17, but I have a lot of warriors here that I can go through, guys, and almost 60,000 coins that I can use to upgrade. I just have to sit down and do it. So let's not talk about me. The beautiful warrior link, she is not in here yet, but that's not uncommon. Most new warriors have to be added later because usually it's comprised of more than one warrior, with the exception of the Ultimate Awakening. Now, to the meat and potatoes here. Let's go look at this warrior and see what they're bringing to the game and how it affects. Let's talk some statistics, if you will. So we're into the index here. You notice anything different right off the bat? She has more than the traditional 4 skill slots. She has 5 skills. That's right. She has an additional skill slot. This little icon right here is UR. It is unlocked when you reach a certain level. Just like every skill is upgraded, every time you star up, you have to reach a certain level as well, but each one of these skills becomes available at max rank of 3. To maxing out whatever stats they may provide. Well, this one at level 100 will unlock the 5th skill slot. No other warrior has 5 skill slots, okay? This is a bit concerning to some degree. And the reason they added the skill slot is because with the new warrior, we actually get a new damage type. We get new damage type, we also get new damage resistances. Each attribute actually has a damage type added to the game. Let's just click on this little icon here and you can see it right here. Water, fire, wind, which is what skill is, light, and dark. Now these attributes are actually seen pretty commonly throughout gacha games. When it comes, most refer to it as, they don't really have the attributes that we do, the mind, physical, and skill. They have dark, light, and then you have your other attributes, you know, wind, ice, and things like that. So we have new damage attributes. Now, let's go read this. First, I want to talk about the statistics here surrounding the base attributes, because when this SP Warriors were released, they were touted as having higher base attribute stats. Now, it was a little confusing to people, so as you can see, Nanel here at 12 star has 35,869 attack, and varying degrees of HP, defense, and speed. Now, this is largely dependent on the passive, and it's because the passives here are higher than a normal warrior, and they're even, the Nanels and others are even higher than some of the SPs. Some are as low as 25%, and some are as high as 50%, as you can see here. So 50% attack and 30% HP. Big deal with some of the other effects. But at 12 star, max level 310, 35,869 attack. Let's go take a look at the skill warrior here. 35,589 attack. So she has some of very similar passives. So there's no increase here. They're not inherently stronger than SP warriors. Okay. And I think that would have, to throw that on top of this additional skill slot would have been overkill, and I would have been a lot more upset than I already am. So no changes here. It's going to vary depending upon the warrior that you have. So let's go take a look at this skill. If the enemy's speed is lower than this warrior's at the beginning of each turn, she will receive the wind attribute damage equal to X% of her attack. For every 1% difference in speed, the damage of this attribute increases by 2% up to 100%. She also provides allies with a 20% wind attribute damage reduction. Very cool. So make no mistake about it. This is another skill. Okay, this is another damage type skill, at least with respects to this warrior. She has a 5th skill to do damage in the attribute of the skill attribute, which is wind. There is no damage reduction other than your normal defense for this, except for the fact that if you include her, you will have a 20% wind attribute damage reduction. And so speaking of allies and team buffs here, let's go take a look at what the new ultra rare warriors actually provide. Based on their star level, they're going to get an inherent. This is inherent. This has nothing to do with the team buff necessarily, but it's inherent to her and other warriors like her. At 5 star all the way up to the 12 star, you can see that the wind attribute damage bonus and the wind attribute damage reduction is actually reduced. We have no indication that this attribute damage reduction, as it states here, this 20%, is added to this 20% for all allies. I think it is very specific to it, but it says all warriors wind attribute damage and all warriors wind attribute damage reduction X%. This right here is speaking of all ultra rare warriors in general. We have no reason to believe that this is going to affect that bonus that you see there, but we'll see. If it does, it is really OP. Now, taking a look at the team buffs that you normally get anyways, under the normal warriors, if you include 1 to 5, you get a stacking HP and attack bonus. When SP warriors were added, not only do you get the bonuses that you have for the specific attribute, but you get a crit rate and a crit damage bonus based on the number of SP warriors. Well, these ultra rare warriors only provide the same benefit that a SP warrior would in the form of crit rate and crit damage. So it does provide buffs from a team perspective. Now, what I don't like about this skill is that there's only one warrior currently in the game for her. Yes, they are going to introduce more, but that's going to be a long road coming. If this warrior here has a 5th skill slot, she has a higher damage potential than a lot of other warriors, largely depending upon who she is or whether she's support role, DPS. But in general, she has another form of damage being added to the game, which creates a slight unfair advantage in some scenarios. That's just my opinion on it. She also is the only warrior in the game that can provide a wind attribute damage reduction, general damage reduction. outside of your normal defense. Because if, as far as I know, this is subject to your defense. I don't like the fact that this is based on speed. What are they going to do with other attributes? It would be kind of shitty, but I was racking my brain kind of thinking of what they would do, but I kind of feel like every attribute warrior is going to has the same reading. It's just going to have their attribute attack, which makes it a very bland and very lame form of attribute damage, but we'll have to wait and see what it is. So new attribute damage type, she's the only one in the game, which brings me to my initial problem here, is that being that she's the only one here with a 5th skill, extra damage reduction, the implementation, not only am I upset that they didn't give us advance notice of this and kind of talk about it a little bit more, they could have gone a step further. They should have made this a whole event. Release one character for each of these attributes, right? All the way up through break and duel. Yes, every one of them. And then give us the chance to pick which one we want. Kind of like right here where you can kind of select the warrior you want, except lock it in. You have to make a choice. They are giving you a choice between 5 UR warriors. They should have let us choose which one we want, and we could have locked it in, and it's permanent. We only get 1, not all 5. But it gives us a preview of all the warriors, how they act with that 5th skill, gives us a chance to see if they're very uniform in the speed defense that they actually provide. It's not the speed, but the speed bump in damage. That's just my opinion. They could have made a whole event out of it, lock it in, pick it up, and then release sporadically these warriors. What this does is it levels the playing field. If you chose skill, but I chose break, now I'm doing break damage to you. You don't have an inherent 20% ally damage reduction, but I also don't have the 20% damage to skill. So we kind of wash each other, but at least we both have the chance to do extra damage to each other based on that attribute. G123 needs to be more creative in what they're doing. Right now we have 1 warrior, 1 advantage, and it is a pretty big advantage if you ask me. As far as how she performs in PvP, don't know. I've heard a lot of people say that higher powers are losing to her. She is actually pretty good. I do have her at 9 star. She actually performed very well. Where is she at here? I don't have her spicy pose unlocked. She doesn't have gear on. I took her into the hardest boss that you could fight right now, and that's the event boss. She did really good. I don't have the clip because my computer restarted and I didn't save it, but I'll get some damage numbers in post. Brings me to another problem and how she interacts. Ultimate Warriors. Ultimate Warriors are supposed to be the ultimate in warriors. You and I both know, or most of us know, that most Ultimate Warriors don't stand up to even some of the SP Warriors. That is both good and bad, but you notice that they didn't update the Ultimate Warriors with a new damage type. There's no word on whether or not these Ultimate Warriors can take on a damage type when slotted into a team. The way it works now currently is if you have a team on the Ultimate Warriors act as wild cards and act as the most common attribute in the party. Break, duel, mind, physical, and skill. So they could actually take on the damage type of the most common warrior here, but it doesn't explicitly state that. Not only that, but the Ultimate Warriors weren't updated with a 5th skill slot to do whatever type of damage their dominant team composition is, nor do they provide damage reduction. People have spent a lot of time and money obtaining Ultimate Warriors. I've spent some money, but not as much as others. And to neglect the Ultimate Warrior aspect of it, or at least not include it, whether they implement this later or not, was very neglective on their part. I think they rushed the implementation of this, and I think it was a bad decision. PvP and how it affects PvE or PvP is going to largely determine on how powerful these warriors end up being overall. And this one actually has some really good skills. And when this, and I'm telling you right now, I've seen this skill go off. It's very flashy, it's very cool, and it actually does quite a bit of damage. Now, whether or not this is actually subject to normal defense, we don't know. I don't honestly think that it is, which causes a bit of a problem. that's it, guys. That's just my thoughts on it. Other than the fact that G123 could have made a better event of this whole thing, given everybody a selection of one of the warriors, locked it in. I think it's kind of crappy that they decided to go with one, lack of communication on the new game mechanics that they're bringing to the game and how it affects team compositions both now, and it affects it more so now because she's the only one that can do wind attribute damage. It's in the 5th skill slot. It's extra damage no matter how you look at it, and she is quite powerful. Ultimate Warriors not being updated right away to include the ability to interact with this new mechanic is also crappy. Now, to anybody saying, well, yeah, it kind of levels the playing field. Well, in this particular scenario, G123 has thrown down the gauntlet. They've instituted a new damage type with only one warrior to slot into there. And because of the amount of effort, time, and money that people put into obtaining some of these Ultimate Warriors, they should have been included from the get-go. That's my take on it, guys. Drop a comment, drop any kind of comment or thought you may have in the comment section. Let me know what you think about this and how the implementation and how you think it might affect both PvP and PvE. When I do the review of her individual skills and how she interacts with a team, I'll show some clips of some damage numbers both on the event boss, normal boss, and guild boss, because they are all different and they all are different in difficulty, and I'll try to get some PvP gameplay as well. Until the next time, guys, I hope you enjoyed this content. Look forward to reading your comments, and I'll see you in the next one.